it's almost making me dizzy.
What is?
Well, because my camera is doing this zooming in and out to my face, and it's like extreme close up, but it looks really choppy the way it does it. So I know this is starting quite late because there's some logistics with getting the old software to send out the signal. Everything was blocked, but I'm going to try to make sure that everyone in Google is able to find this. Yeah, people are asking where to go, but the funny thing is with YouTube chat, you're not allowed to post links.
Right.
Post the link.
Just do dot. Just spell out dot for the period, and then spell out com. And I've seen people do it that way.
That's a good idea.
I see. I can do something computer-wise.
That was brilliant.
No, not really. It wasn't my own. That would be brilliant.
Oh, accessing in a time of need is sometimes what you're really looking for.
Okay.
Right? Like when is it applied? Like acquisition of knowledge alone it's not the same unless you're actually positioning the knowledge into the hands of somewhere that cares or somewhere that matters.
Super. So is this like your new attitude 24/7 or what?
I think so.
You're never going to get road rage or get mad at the cashier for giving you the wrong change?
Well, that might be fun from time to time.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Okay. So I think people are getting in.
Hazel's going to get away with murder.
I'm not even sure if they can chat in here.
There is a group chat to the right of the...
Oh, and I am noticing viewers. We have viewers. It just says 7 viewers. It doesn't say who it is. So I'm beginning to think there is not as much room for... there's not as much room for... chatting in here, but I'd like to see. No, that's not it. Actually, there is a Q&A feature, but it says it's disabled. I don't know how to get it undisabled. No Q&A. That would have been nice. That would have been a space where I think we could have chatted, but I think I would have had to do that earlier. The chat room appears to just have me and Don. So unless anyone tries to chat, type into the chat, I believe it's not going to work.
Okay. Well, they can reach us on Facebook or your website if they have questions.
Yeah. Let's see here. This looks to be right, actually.
Are we live or?
Yeah, we are live, and I think
okay.
We have the same chat room as before.
We have that. That is live.
I'm gonna ask. How is everything looking?
I got a Facebook message. The link didn't work. We had to search it. That was from Crystal.
Okay. Well, anyways, let's go forward. I believe this is all getting recorded.
Good.
I certainly hope so. And we can, I mean, it says we've got 13 viewers. I think we're good to go.
Okay.
So where were we and how did it start?
Hi. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of Exploring the New Age. Countdown to Contact. Hi, Julien. How are you?
Hi, Don.
There we go. That's where
I'm doing great. If you figure that out by now,
Julien's doing great.
Surprised.
So we apologize. We don't really, well, not that I would know, but Julien doesn't know what really happened. So we're just going to move on.
Well, I sort of know, but not worth the explanation at the moment.
Yeah, we're not going to. So anyways, but you were talking about us having lots of things to talk about.
Yes, because as some of you may know, I'm doing my first workshop a week and a half from now. And it's based off of new insight that has come up that's really sort of flipped everything. If you were you thought you had your salad set up, it's like, tossing your salad in the air and saying, oh gosh, what's coming next? What does this look like? So it kind of in a new place about a lot of information, but it's not really different from what I've always been talking about and what we've been talking about on the show.
No, it's like focusing on elevating it right now. It sounds like
elevating it in a very matter of fact, this is how you're living life way of putting it. Less philosophical, let's put it that way.
Right. This is like how to do it.
Down to brass tacks of how and why things are the way they are.
Okay, your audio is kind of scrambling a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, or a lot of it.
Which one is it, Don?
Well, now you're okay, but before it was very scrambled.
Okay. So goodness, this moving camera is actually making me more dizzy than needs to happen, I think.
Okay.
There we go.
Look at that.
Much better.
But your audio changed a little bit, but it sounds louder and better.
Okay.
Okay.
So where to start? I mean, I'm going to start with, people might have noticed that I've created a new logo graphic for this this workshop that contains the it's called the 5 tenets of this Earth reality. And it sounds kind of pompous for me to suggest I know everything. All I'm saying is these are things that I've found, and with these 5 alone, your paradigm changes. The way you see life changes very quickly. And they're not things that we haven't already talked about. I mean, I've said you don't have to die, but I know more about that. I've talked about Cloud9, but I know a lot more about that. We've talked about the Illuminati's being our partners in some way, but I know a lot more about that. I know a lot more about why contracts are the way they are and why it's so significant, what we can do about it too, and where it's going, because it's not going to be the same. That's probably the biggest part of the message, is that contracts aren't going to operate based off of the old way of operating on contracts. There's a phase where people begin to realize what's been done to them, okay? You know this much. People get this idea where they realize what's been done to them. Many people don't know really what comes after that. Well, what comes right after that point is they say, well, how do we avoid this? How do we avoid this stuff happening to us again? Being tricked. How do we even, decide that the banks are good, maybe? How do we even decide that, the government didn't always have black projects, that NASA wasn't always lying? Whatever it is, there's a point where you want to basically, or people as a people will want to basically readjust their comfort zones with how they're going to approach life. And areas where they did not feel so much control. And that is like governing bodies. A lot of people didn't feel control about that. People didn't feel control about money. So it's almost part of the same story. Money and governing, bodies can be considered almost part of the same problem. Amongst other things like the threat of death and what illness really is. Now, I knew what illness was, but I know what is even better. And from this perspective, we're moving through a really interesting September. Probably one of the more interesting of your life. Okay? And it may not even feel like it's your life. It may feel like I wake up, I have breakfast, do my same routine, but when I turn on the news, it's like a different kind of world is going on out there. Like when you woke up and 9/11 surfaced. But it's not necessarily 9/11. It's like, wait a second. Everyone's like reading Eckhart Tolle and it's sold out. They're all trying to read it today or something. Like every person, like, you know, some mundane statistic just tips the balance. Some mundane statistic like, you know, Eckhart Tolle's latest book becomes bestseller, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And within it, people who read it say they ascend overnight and goodbye, and they're basically ascended after reading it or something. Everybody's like, what does that mean? What is that story? And you know, it's as odd as that.
Well, it is interesting that this week David Wilcock's book Ascension Mysteries came out. So
yeah. Oh, did it this week?
Yes, this week. Yesterday, I think.
We're gonna have to compare notes, right?
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's probably best that I don't compare notes, because then I'm independently speaking for my experience of it,
mm-hmm.
which is probably good as a bifocal experience, right?
Right.
So you can get it from two different angles. But this is not just me. There's a lot of people getting this right now. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people downloading it. There's a lot of people getting this. It is one of the largest dumps that I could ever imagine. Like maybe there were dumps before I was sensitive enough to pay attention to dumps. And we'll use a different word. We'll call it downloads. I know.
There we go. There we go.
Dumps, you know, down in the dumps, all that sort of thing. But one of the more significant downloads. Now, it is probably the most significant download I've ever gotten.
Mm-hmm.
I've had insights that have changed my life quickly, but this is, you know, pretty much rewriting everything in every way for the better.
So how is this changing you?
Well, I've been taken ill a little bit,
mm-hmm.
and I couldn't be more happy about it. So I can see what's going on through this. I can feel, without it being so traumatic, that you know, that upsets me to a point where it's going too fast. But it's going just at the rate of my comfort level so that I can enjoy the greatest parts of its benefits. Right? So imagine a marathon runner that should stop, right? And he's tired and he's like, you know, the healthy thing would be to stop. But right now, I'm going through a body training.
Okay.
And that's part of it too. But I'm not really sick. I'm just almost like choosing to work with less oxygen or something. But it's a very odd feeling. And it's something that I had many years ago, and I never really took full benefit of it. And now I get to see it again. So within this context, everything starts to cascade, right? There's some really strong reflections that begin to sort of do dominoes in various ways. And I was just sort of following the dominoes and following what that means. And it's very distinct. It's much easier to follow when you're very sure of what you're following. right? There's points where you can go off on tangents and you get unsure kind of quickly. It kind of, I don't know about that. But I realized that I've had this sort of skill in doing this since I started knowing what the Akashic was a couple years ago. I mean, knowing it via accessing it a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm at this place with it, it's like, I want to say Akashic is like playing with a set of 8-color crayons. Okay? Like, that does not tell you very much. Does not tell you this, the distinctiveness of the why. And the way that I'm seeing things now, the distinctiveness is in your exploration of a subject. So essentially, as you explore a subject, you are choosing through the distinctiveness that is important to you. And when I say important, it doesn't mean that it's like it's the best thing for you, but it means this is important for you, which means it can be really negative or really positive. It has a meaning for you, which basically means, have you repeated it in your vibration? Have you repeated it in your vibration? Because your vibration gives meaning to things that oscillate a lot in vibratory speak.
Okay.
So there's a method for navigating any of your beliefs quickly. As in, what is what I have manifested? What is the fastest way to research what I'm putting out? And what is the fastest way to get to brass tacks on why things are the way they are? Because it's different for each person, quite frankly. The world has a different meaning for different people, because they grow up giving it different meaning from childhood, right? And now you're saying, oh, Joy, that's only the subconscious. What about the conscious that, that existed before you were born? Well, that's there too, because once you've actually sorted out what your life has done, following all the options that you put into your memory by either being a part of your environment and your family, or by choice, choosing to study something, choosing to entertain yourself with something. Once you know what that is, well, then you know what came in that's not part of, like, you could see what you put in there since you were born, and now what's left over, if you take that context away, that's what you really got. That's what you really wanted to do. That's what you really wanted to come here and do. Like, those are the primordial energies that drive you. And there are ways to have a conversation with that. It's not that complicated, but it does require maybe a little bit of guidance. And that's why I feel that the workshop is the best parameter for this, because frankly, it makes a lot of sense to me, but I know it will not come off really quickly for others. And so it needs to be gone through some exercises, a workshop. This is a working workshop. This is not sitting back on the couch and just, letting the information go by. You can get the recordings for that and see how everything went. The workshop format specifically is for engaging and choosing to realize a next sort of way of looking at things. That's why I call it the new age. It's a very new, it's not very new, but it has a lot of newness to how it all fits together. Many people, they don't fit things together necessarily. It can get complex really quickly. And this, within about 10 hours, you'll get a sense of it. Maybe, it's something I can describe in 10 minutes, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
But I was basically told the recipe format for this, and the workshop is going to be the best way to get this material sort of strapped in to make use of. It's also leading to some other changes with what we might call my business of doing sessions. I'm going to be basically changing my session system. I'm going to be going over to more doing workshops. I intend to be writing a book on this. I feel like I can write it out through channeled like means in a very short span of time. But the workshops are going to be the place to get down and dirty and begin affecting great change in your life. And through these workshops, it's not going to all be my guidance as to, how to fix whatever you want to fix or something. It's going to be involving some direct ways of you addressing your personal reality right there. So you don't have to wait. You don't have to take notes and then after the workshop do so much work. You'll get to do it right there and get immediate assistance with your new awareness. Okay. So, the rates for my sessions will probably go up just to curb the numbers a little bit. I don't know what that'll be, but it'll probably maybe at the end of the month or something. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I am going to put more time into developing the workshops, the visual material, and just publicizing them a bit better, right? The shows will definitely keep going on as day in, day out. This is like a really advanced blog for Don and I.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're keeping up with current events and energies and whatever is the highlight of the day for us to focus in on, which is usually based on the energies has been going through, has been going on. So so where should we go next, do you think?
Well, so the information the download, is this something that you received from the Pleiadians, or was this something you received from your greater self?
This would be more my greater self.
So, right.
With confirmations from Pleiadians and Cloud9.
Okay.
Okay. Cloud9 wants to make it clear that they're making a push for our reality. Okay, they can only do so much, but Cloud9 is really making a push to have people realize anything they wish can be true using a Cloud9 formula that doesn't exist yet on the planet so much. And they're working on that formula. And, I can see it, in play in various ways. They test it out, and I can see that. But for the most part, I'm standing in the Cloud9. I'm not standing on Cloud9. I have like my head popping up above the cloud kind of thing. Like like, do I belong here or not? I'll leave when it starts to become obnoxious, maybe. Right? So there are, so many places to go with this. But regarding the source, it is my new vibratory state. I mean, when you see enough content, you realize enough things like the five tenets. I mean, I'm using tenets like it's some sort of biblical term, but really it's just the 5 things, okay? I don't mean to start sounding Jesus-y or something. Maybe I could have used a different term, but they're elements that really, really catalyze a change within someone when you really hear all the programming on it. Okay?
Okay, so as you're talking about your new vibratory state,
Mhm.
it is, would you say that your vibratory state is such as it is today, or what allowed the download of this information? Is that based on your personal work and your personal journey, or are we, we're being
It's a
hit with waves,
continuation.
but it's we're being hit with waves of energy, and we're told we've got one coming up next week. Is this a vibratory state that we're all maybe not cognizant of at this point in time, or that we're going to be moving into, and then this information is going to be helpful as we
So
start processing that energy?
we'll just call it the insightful state. Okay.
Okay.
For the average person, you feel insightful, or you feel like you came onto some good information, something like that. That's about the lowest common denominator of this, right? This would be like when the reference that I gave with like an Eckhart Tolle, it'd be like you didn't do anything spiritual with your life and you just read Eckhart Tolle's, The Power of Now. It's gonna like, spin you a little bit.
Right.
So this is what I mean. The difference was, comparatively with all circumstances in the past with downloads, in my situation, is almost like Eckhart Tolle came to my house, rang my door, sat down with me, and read it aloud while all getting recorded and being put on the Oprah show. Okay? That's the difference between the experience now compared to what I've had before as downloads. There's a whole nother level of significance behind this. And it's a personal, insightful state of awareness. It is basically another level of connecting the dots. Okay. Many people are going to connect all the dots. Are they going to collect all the dots? Is everyone going to see cloud nine? Is everyone, going to pop their head above the clouds? I can't say. Each person is their own journey, right?
Right.
So, but I can say this is a birthright, and some people may not call it a birthright, to be honest. It may be one of the most challenging parts of their life. Okay.
Of course.
Because whatever you've been using as an excuse, we'll say, to not identify as a creator, the inner creator within you is going to spoon feed you that and ask you how you like it. Okay. And I don't mean like your deep, darkest fears are going to come up. It might just be spiders. But if it's, the Illuminati is going to come knocking on my door or something, well, wear a nice suit. I don't know what to say. It's, it's ready to happen. Now, it's of the more masculine properties that September takes on. It's more feminine-like properties that it takes on in October. And if you wanted to know what Halloween was really about, this Halloween you're going to find out stuff you've never known about Halloween. Stuff no one talks about. And people will be, maybe introduced to this stuff for the first time, and there may be a few here and there that'll be like, oh yeah, no biggie.
So that kind of makes sense.
I can work with that, Anyhow, the point is that there is a repetition going on, and we've run out of reasons to stall it any longer.
Right.
Okay. We're at the precipice of our own awakening, always. And there's less and less reasons for us to stall what we're not sure is full abundant happiness. The reason why we're not sure is because fundamentally it's a decision, right? You can have as difficult or an easy life as you choose. And you know, the idea everything's possible, anything's possible. Well, guess what? That's the only way it works. Anything and always was possible, and you've been trying to get steady feet during your childhood, and then during your adulthood, it's time to prepare a new space.
Now, you've said to me several times in the last few months that the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to
The Galaxy.
And
the book.
I haven't read the book, but I did actually watch the movie again.
Oh, good.
Last weekend. I hadn't seen it since it was in the theater, so I watched it. And like you told me, it was like that's more accurate way that the universe works than than I would have thought. And I'm like, okay, so I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is kind of the impression I get from talking to you, anyways.
Okay.
So, but the funny thing is well, okay, and so the question is like, how, going through this accelerated thing, and if you know that movie's accurate to a certain extent, of course you're creating your own, but where the hurdles that have stopped us from moving that greatly, even to the point of maybe jumping onto the Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy and then saying, okay, now I know what's going on. I can create something else differently for myself.
Sure.
But so is that what we're going to be experiencing here in the fall and through probably the next year? Not quite.
We have till the end of the year to get basic training down.
Okay.
And for people to sort of still wake up in various ways. But pretty much everyone's going to be, you know, majority of the planet is going to agree that they have awoken to something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? At the end of the year.
Right.
And as a result, everyone's going to want to change their priorities. And next year, a lot of people who want to, you know, a lot of people are going to change their priorities in September. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it gets, you know, it gets out vastly more and more and more through the end of the year. And then next year is sort of like a repeat of, you know, September, October, November, December.
So it's a repeat, but maybe at a slower pace.
Yeah, slower.
Okay.
Well, actually, the pace is never going to go slow, but you'll find your legs with it.
Okay.
By the end of the year, that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't find your legs with it, there'll be many people willing to help you with that.
Right.
Okay.
Which, you know, probably a lot of people we're talking with here.
Yeah.
On the show are going to be the ones that are going to be helping those that this is a lot newer for them. I mean, you talk about, okay, Eckhart Tolle coming in and reading you, going over the book with you and then having it right on Oprah. I mean, that's, kind of how my awakening was, because it wasn't Eckhart Tolle, but it was Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, Book 1. But it wasn't a huge jump for me to say, oh, wow, this is a very different way of looking at the world, and then running with it. But it's going to be a huge jump for a lot of people.
Not necessarily.
What is going to help? So there's not like a whole big psychotic breakdown or what have you, as opposed to a jump forward.
Because whatever you ask for, you believe will always work out.
Mm-hmm.
You actually trust in that.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't trust that this is going to work out, you'll probably get caught up in the mixer blades.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? You're going to want to trust this because of how simple it is, how honest it is. And it's so honest, it basically blows all the reasons for having egoic distance between each other out of the water right overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that it will happen that way, but it'll move very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? And I know I said blow out of the water, like this idea of warfare. I don't mean it like warfare. It's more like love fair. There's like this whole new reason for helping your fellow man. It's a whole new reason to look into each other's eyes and see what you really can do for each other. Like where you honestly have a connection that you can immediately act on and know exactly how to act on it as it suits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not necessarily required. Many people intuitively work this way. But for all those who are skeptics or, philosophers, this is going to really drop a great deal of understanding in their lap. Okay? And people who are even religious, it's going to drop a whole nother sack of grain to consider.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm doing my best to talk slowly, because when I talk too quickly, I found that the tangents were more numerous and
Right.
they were difficult to integrate. That's just one example. It's like, how did I know that? Matter of fact, I just know that now. I just always knew it. Like the download was so different, it's almost like I had a walk-in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, how the heck did I become aware of so much in such a short span and, not change at all fundamentally who I am?
Mm-hmm.
I'm more fundamentally aware of who I am now than ever before.
So you sharing that space with somebody else, or
no,
with another walk-in? Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Because it got squeezed in there.
Sure. If there is a walk-in, it's me that took 50 years to figure this out.
Okay.
He's come back and he says, "Don't bother thinking of things that way. It always leads to a dead end."
All right.
Like, I've tried all your thoughts out. I already know which one's the best ones you can consider. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So every time I come to a thought, it's as if I already know the better direction to go with, or the most useful direction to go with.
Yes.
And this direction is not like, black or white even. Like, I sense in some sort of way, like a multitasking mind, I sense all the options and I sense which one I'm more vibrationally, or what my mood is more interested in going with right now. Literally, I know my mood almost like it's just a number on the temperature gauge, thermometer.
So do you see, while everybody is going on their personal journey through this process of the next couple of months, and then also following it through in 2017, what about collectively, and finding leadership collectively to assist in that, or will because if we look at our current leaders and just kind of figure that they're going to be going through the same process also, but maybe they're not as far along, and then how do we know that there's going to be place for leaders, or will we need leaders, or how is this going to look, do you think?
All right. So real briefly, I'm not going to answer your question the way you're asking it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it is a
You have changed.
sense of the collective. I only care about ourselves and what we're choosing for our reality, which is any government, anything you can imagine, you can have that. To stress again the importance maybe of what we're talking about and what I want to share on more, especially through a workshop format, is grounding how it is true that you can choose everything and you can choose it quickly and distinctly. So anything you don't choose will run off old steam. Okay? And anything that's dragging you down from your, coming out of your shell is going to feel like it should be able to be quickly dealt with. All the pains of life. It should feel that it can be quickly dealt with and you can move on to happier pastures and work with happier pastures life. Okay?
Okay.
2017 is the happy pastures, right? And I don't mean to suggest that we all become sheeple. That would be a funny way of looking at open pastures. Right. Oh, just a bunch of sheeple. But no, this is your own. This is your own making, and I mean it when I say it. I will discuss this more after the workshop and after that's made available, because the workshop will help everyone understand more what I'm talking about going forward. Because I have to talk about in my reality. It would be absurd if I wrote a book and every sentence started with in my reality, such and such and such. Okay? But rather than just say in my reality, such and such and such, this is what's going on, and training you to realize it works, that's how it works, or something, the workshop will help you make that determination of whenever, Julien says in my reality, you should be thinking of your own.
Right.
Okay? So fill in the blank of your story and then see if it's in alignment with what you read afterwards or what you hear next. So I know that what I'm going to say about the reality that I've discovered, why everything is the way it is, and I'm talking like just, from governments to people, we've had lots of great explanations about the Illuminati and Cabal and whatnot, but it's a different mixed bag from my perspective at this point. And if you can find enough consideration of all the factors, you may literally turn around and want to pat them on the back and say, you've been my ally this whole time. I'm not suggesting that. And I'm not suggesting that that is a life choice anyone needs at all. But my point is to strictly describe my reality and why it is historically accurate and why it holds weight and why it is as strong as it is. And everyone's is going to be different than mine. I'm being 100% honest here. Everyone's view cannot be exactly like mine. Everyone will have their own, tangent, or their own, something here is a bit different. Something here is going to be different. Now, normally we don't say this. We say, I know what really went on. This is what really went on. And everyone listens in and goes, yeah, I think you might be right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I can explain at this point with a great certainty and clarity most of why the way things are. Now, you might ask, why bother doing that, Julian? Why doing that? Well, if I want to make any decisions about what my future is going to be, I need to have sort of let go of the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really got to let go of my hangups about the past, because they hold everyone back. Not just me. I'm like, oh, I got something, and I got grudge with the past. I mean, maybe I look like a nice fellow, but there's still things I thought were creepy at one point because I didn't know what they were. It's like not knowing what darkness is because you haven't brought your brilliance to it. So I am not advocating for anything but being the highest form of yourself and setting that as your destination and realizing that your highest value that you will realize will be shooting for that star. Okay? And I will be here publicly just telling my story. The story we've been talking about already.
Mm-hmm.
It's not new. You're not new to this story. I just have another way of describing how it all goes together like with a bow. Right? How it all wraps together and describing it from 5 different angles. Now it sounds like 5 different angles. Ooh, you're trying to steal the 5D sort of thing. I said, no, that's just what it happens to be. It's 5. It happens to be 5. 5 surrounding a 1, right? It is 5 and the subject of a single subject. And that single subject is human life on Earth. I know that's more than just, a couple words. If it was just humans, it wouldn't be 5. Humans are 10. To take 10 things to explain just being human, because there's humans not on Earth. Lots of humans that are not on Earth.
Right.
They weren't born on Earth either. They're just basically humans. And we can call it, I guess I'm generalizing, humanoid people with 5 fingers on each hand, But for the most part, the physical body's been perfected for a very, very long time. This body does not need to be ill. This body doesn't need anything to restrict it. You do that on purpose. From a way that you don't understand that you're doing on purpose. So you wouldn't call it on purpose initially. So if you're not maybe ready to pick up a certain level of responsibility for your existence in life, you probably should stop here. You should not sign up for the workshop. Because this is just going to make you feel a lot better about everything. It's going to settle things down in a peaceful way where you don't have to think about stuff so much. We're entirely overthinking everything. So what there is to talk about in my description of how reality has been put together is really some very simple basis of reference. And there's a lot of moving pieces, I know. And that is what I'll describe for people so that people can see the moving pieces. When you want to know what the future is, I can't tell you. I can only tell you what's going to happen, that I will see it. So if I see it, this is what I'm going to interpret. And you may have a completely different experience than what I'm saying is going to happen to you. Right? I mean, your interpretation of your life is different than my interpretation of your life. And it's not really my job to tell you what it's going to be for you, because that's something everyone's going to begin becoming responsible for themselves in here. Now, is this going to be forced? No, I'd say you probably got to the end of next year before it's practically jammed in your face, you know, like a baby who won't eat their baby food. But is it my reality that's going to get jammed down your throat? No. It's just this sort of thing where pick up the spoon and feed yourself. That's the message. Pick up the spoon, and be the explorer of life that you always meant to be. Okay? I'm not promising anything. I can only promise myself things. So what I promise to myself is paradise. And it is a heaven on earth. And it is a shift of the ages. Even though I didn't put a lot of stock into it had to happen. It is my life. And in order to understand what mine means to yours, there's still some conversations to have. Because we still don't honestly, fundamentally know what our relationship is. We say we're co-creators. We say we're souls in a human encounter. And we say we're spirits having a human-like dream. But which one is it? Well, it's all of the above, for instance. And it is what you need it to be ready for you. My only point in telling my story the way it is so that I can let it go. And anyone else who sees fit to let go of the same thing because it's clear why it is. I'm not going to cite why it shouldn't be let go. I'm going to cite very good reasons for why things can be let go. Basically citing a very, very strong argument for all points. And in the workshop, I'll help you realize exactly how things feel for yourself so that you can sort of look at my life and say, you know, what have I got in common here that I appreciate at the highest levels? So is it a typical workshop? I've been to a lot of workshops. I've been a part of a lot of workshops that have been put on. And you know, it's they're 2-hour segments. Friday there's one. Saturday and Sunday they each have 2-hour segments separated by an hour. And they are not going to hold back. I know it starts to sound like that what I'm saying today is some sort of, I don't know, people might interpret it as an advertisement for it or something. Back of a cereal box, exciting story or something. But by the time it gets to that weekend, you'll know if this is the sort of thing that you're ready for. So we're allowing bookings right up until Friday. You can book it right up until that point. But I am going to basically draw the line at 30, I think. At the moment it's at 30, but you know, we'll see how it goes. I do want a minimum number of people, and I think we'll get that. So, how are we doing in the chat room?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't have a chat room here in Google available.
Well, actually, I'm going to the YouTube chat. I think some people stayed talking there. I'm not
There's
sure.
a little bit, yeah. Belinda made the comment that she touched base with Franco Di Nicola. He confirmed that the collective of the human species and all its support teams have chosen the accelerated timeline.
Oh, yes. I guess I could explain my take on the accelerated timeline term. The next, ending at around the end of next year is the accelerated timeline. I've talked about, that I've seen my life, at least for another 15 years. I've seen timelines of my life. Call it my my love line, my heart line, my heart timeline. Because it contains all the major accomplishments that I want to achieve, and generally how long it would take if I was constantly with my mind and my eyes and my attention focused on what my heart was saying and focusing on what my heart brings to me. And there's lots of events and things like that. I don't get into them very often, but the accelerated timeline essentially accordions a lot of the objectives that we're going to take 15 years. And that doesn't suggest that I'm not around for 15 years at all. There's a lot that makes up a timeline with regard to when things take place. But doing the accordion effect, I can see a lot of the things that I had seen for the next 15 years. I can see them happening next year, quite literally. And to me, that means accelerated timeline. To me, that says 15 years might have been more realistic for some people, but now it's more like the end of 2017. Now, do things keep going on after that? Yeah, they do. Things keep going. Society keeps growing. People keep growing in all the most wonderful ways. All right. I have no clue what will actually come, because on another level, I start to begin feeling like I am letting go of your creativity to give me an idea. So maybe we'll swap ideas. Maybe that's a bit more what it'll feel like. What do you think is going to be in the future? Great. I'll tell you what I think is going to be in the future. Great. What do we think? Oh, we take what we like. And we just have these casual conversations about what the future is like. And it just sounds simple, right? Around the water machine. So at this point, we're running into the later part of our time. I know we did not have as much time today because we started late. So I will, I'll do something to get you guys more time, which will be probably make a video and have a bit of a discussion. I think I may try out the Facebook video feature. But for the moment, Don, were there other things you wanted to make sure we talked about tonight that or that I maybe told you to remind me of?
We had talked a little bit about the 300 words.
300 words.
Yes.
I don't quite remember where we left off, because my life with the 300 words is an evolving process of methodology, developing and growing. So I'll just do a real quick recap, and then maybe what I think is sort of additional new information on the subject. The 300 words is the average number of words that a person needs to memorize in order to basically make your choices move to the president, to the principal's office. Okay? It's like as if you're in school, you need to basically do 300 things consistently, or believe in 300 things very specifically, because you will be a paradigm changer in your reality. You will quickly change paradigms, and you'll know it. So as a result of that, some people will get maybe a bit freaked out by what they're able to do, and they may feel not quite ready for it. And that's okay. It's okay when, you know, you do something creepy, like, you know, raise your dog from its grave or something. You know,
Okay.
like, oh God, you know, Pet Cemetery all over again, you know. But the point is, there is a path. This 300 is not just going to like snap into being. It will still show you it's coming into being. You always have the ability to turn away. Okay? You're always allowed to turn into fear. You will always have that option. However, the meaning of fear with this new definition of another form of guidance for refining your life, it's kind of like saying, you know, when something fearful comes up, you know, run away, but you'll never cross that bridge, right? Now you're just saying you need to cross the bridge without doing it the way you just tried. But try to cross that bridge in any way but the way you just tried. And every time you turn away, you still want to cross the bridge because you keep asking for what's on the other side of this bridge. But now you've got less and less options because you've worn out your options already for what you feel will comfortably get you to the other side of the bridge. Now, it's a metaphorical bridge, so in the end, it doesn't really matter how or when you tackle it. But as people identify with energies that are in alignment with them, you know, you could follow the zodiac if that's, you know, what helps you follow that the best. You know, I like to follow the climate outside. You know, is it sunny? Is it rainy? You know, it was supposed to be sunny, but it's rainy. Okay, now I understand. There's a little bit more information here for me. But, you know, everyone determines exactly what is helping them in guidance in the way that is helping them have this energy to sort of like, you know, pave your own way through this new awakening phase. The crazy thing is, I'm going to say this is crazy because I thought it was pretty crazy. Maybe it's not that crazy. Is that we've been in this world for a long time. Like we were in this all access pass world for a long time. From varying ways of looking at it, which I'll get into another time. But we can do anything like now. Life is much more able to support a sudden change than ever before. Magic is more real now than it's ever been in recent past. So whether you're interested in magic or what's going on behind the scenes for magic, like technology, it can produce the same effect. Okay? I'm not asking you to believe in magic. I'm going to ask you to believe that you can have a different life and that things can change quickly and that you can be a part of the visualization process and decision process for whatever it is you want to have. I mean, Pleiadians the other day said, you know, watch out, Julien. Talk to people like this. You're going to sound like one of those people who claims to know law of attraction as if they're on steroids with it. And that's not my intention. I think this does apply to law of attraction, but when you're not following where your energy is, there's not the same movement. And you don't know who you are, why you're living this life. You don't have the same belly. You don't have the same, when I say belly, I mean like, you know, solar plexus guidance going forward with it. You're not so sure. You're not so lined up. You're not so comfortable. I have no intentions of suggesting anybody take steps that they are not comfortable doing. I'll never say that needs to take place. I most prefer everyone who wants to do this is someone that actually wants to do this. And, you know, I may be talking to those people right now. But if it's just you and me, Don, and there isn't, you know, 23 viewers as I see down there, if it's just you and me, we can have that conversation on the air, I think.
Right, exactly.
Be transparent about how that works. Talking about getting the news from somewhere, I mean like looking at the news, explaining why that perfectly fits in the reality. And understanding maybe why that even showed up. Like I might explain where that came from initially, either as a vibration or as a belief or a memory. So, you know, no longer will you give energy to boogeymen, to being afraid of the dark, being afraid of anything, because the only thing that's left after you've found the truth of choosing your life and manifestation in exactly the best way that works for you, your heart will palpitate. You'll be like, I think I just won the lottery. You know, I think I just won $1 billion or more. I think I just won a lottery that's more than anyone has available to give me if it were money. That kind of lottery. Because there's things even money can't buy that you can do. That you can choose. So, you know, the world's your oyster, and I'm going to be here sharing various ways, and the 300-word one is one way. It's one of the best ways, and in the future, I'll explain why it is one of the best ways. There's a very specific history behind words and why words were given importance. Okay, there's a difference between a written word and a spoken word. So you have to understand that your body remembers when it receives information from the 5 senses. Okay, so if you're a better listener than you are a touchy-feely person, you'll learn faster by hearing the words said by your own body. Okay? If you learn more from reading and from, you know, connecting with stuff that people have constructed, like blogs and things like that, then you will want to be practicing the writing format of 300. Now, you know, I can also talk about why 300 doesn't need to be 300. It could be a whole lot less than that. And it could be a whole lot more, but 300 is the paradigm for getting the most packed in at the highest level of value for using your ability to memorize. Okay? So memorization is a part of the journey, and you will want to find out how you best memorize. Let me just put it that way. The 300 can go either way. But when you memorize, that is, you know, that's instructions from the chief on high. Okay? And everything has been vying for your attention to memorize its existence. And that's fine. But come September and October, it's cleaning out the closet time. You're going to find a whole nother set of priorities worth and not worth having. Or realizing there's things you once were priorities you're not worth having anymore, and you'll see all lots of new priorities that are worth having. That's why it's a model of reality. I can't tell you this is all perfect. You still need to find a way that it matters to you. If you want everything to be so unique so as to not get any suggestions, there will be a point I'll tell you to stop listening. Okay? Because there's a point where talking about this reality, it may sound absurd, but I'll have to keep saying my reality, my reality, my reality. Because people don't immediately get that.
Mm.
When you are a little further down the road, it's implicit. In fifth dimensional, it is implicit. Okay? Don't need to keep saying that. But that is important to make the bridge. And soon I'll be saying that more and more. But for tonight, I think we've covered a good, solid bit of information. And I'll have more for you next weekend. Yes, this weekend coming up, we'll be talking with Don.
Bob Wright.
Bob Wright, my old partner in crime. No,
there you go.
my old, video blogger. But we didn't do video. We did audio blogger.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's into having his camera put up, then he's going to be video blogging with us. We never really got that. So it should be pretty exciting.
Yes. Looking forward to it. So that's Saturday night.
That's Saturday night, 6 p.m. It's basically the same time as today's show if it had started on time.
9 p.m. Eastern.
Coming set, yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern. And of course, there's next Wednesday's Exploring the New Age, where I'll probably get into more details before the conference. So, stay tuned if that still applies anymore. Stay vibrationally tuned.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
And you can find information on my website, julianwells.com. And if you go to /workshop, you will get information on that workshop. It will run in Google Hangouts. So basically similar to this format here, except it'll be invite only. And the recordings that get saved will be private. And if you're a part of the workshop, well, then you have access to those links. And if you want to purchase it later, then you can purchase it later. But that's it for tonight, guys.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. And sorry for the mix-up. Hopefully, we didn't lose too many viewers. But
well, they can find the recording and
find a recording. It also helps if you're subscribed, because the subscription will tell you, and if you get notifications, if you get notifications from subscriptions, you can get when I'm going live in a message on your phone or on your computer or something like that. So, do subscribe. It also helps if you hit like, because that will help this element of getting this word around. As valuable as it is, it's kind of like a partial share. It's like a halfway value of a share, maybe. Share's worth 2 to 3 to 4 times as much. But so if you're in it for a share, in it for a share. If you're in it for a like, you're in for a like. And anyhow, thank you and good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks.